Right. So, but I appreciate knowing what's out there.
Besides the parent management training, I want to talk a little bit today also about some research on ways parents care for themselves or accept, or more what we call acceptance therapy, and how that also impacts on child's behavior. The first thing I want to talk about is a really interesting article by Lawrence Scahill, who's actually is a nurse researcher who was out at Children's Hospital a few months ago. So they wanted to see, well, what is the effectiveness of parent training versus just teaching parents about behavior problems. These are all autistic kids between 3 and 7 years old. So they just got the diagnosis. Kids got some, to get in, they have to have some behavioral problems, disruptive behavior. The parents who got the parent management training did better than the group who got the education alone. So the behavior got better in both cases, but there was a greater improvement in behavior in the children whose parents had the parent management training,
right,
compared to the parents who were given information and taught skills and advocacy. So what I guess it shows is that parent education is good, parent management training is probably better. When, and you probably know this, when left untreated, problem behaviors in children with disabilities become more severe as they get older. They don't go away. The primary aim of behavioral family interventions is to reduce the level of the child's behavioral problems, but such interventions have also been shown to reduce parenting stress. So, it's important. Sorry.
I mean, for having been in the special needs world for 33 years now, I find that there has never been enough emphasis on the fact that people with the children and adults with disabilities have behaviors. I think we've kept it a hidden secret for a long time. Like, honestly, like, you never go, lots of times you go to workshops and they talk a lot about different disabilities and different issues and different things, but what's always bothered me is that it's almost like, the best kept secret, right? Like, I mean, we don't, people just don't want to talk about the fact that probably 90% of the children with disabilities have behaviors.
It's actually not that much. It's 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's really high.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, it's nice to be hearing this, right, and actually talking about disabilities in relationship to behaviors, because there is so much of it, and you often feel so secluded in that. Like, as a parent, you often feel so secluded and not really wanting to talk about it, and yet it's such a it's such a common occurrence, right? It's something we all live with and we all have to deal with. So it's nice to be able to have access to information to be able to share with others, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say in regards to the sensory integration kind of treatment, the Fraser Valley Child Development Center, they offer Calm for the preschool kids. I went through that with my daughter, and it combines some of the triple P stuff, but it's got a big sensory component, teaching kids to recognize their own arousal states, all of that. And then there's a new program in Chilliwack that I got to take part in called Capable Kids, and it was a pilot project being run by Trish Ackland, who's a psychologist at UFB, and she also works with CYMH and some other people in the psychology department, and they did 2 groups. One group, the parents had a psycho-ed model where they covered the techniques that were being used with the kids, and then the kids from both groups got the same treatment, the same therapy in preschool. And then the other group of parents, it was on adult attachment and mindfulness, working through trauma kind of stuff, and then they compared the results, and they decided that both were helpful, and they combined the programs.
What was the second program called?
It's Capable Kids.
Capable Kids.
It was excellent. It was 15 weeks long.
If you somehow are able to accept, I don't know how to put it, accept your child's disability and difficulties, you tend to be less anxious and stressed about them.
Yeah. How much did you get paid for that?
I know, I've got a tough audience here.
our role, sometimes, my former professional role, or even in your role as a resource parent, you do talk to a lot of families who are looking for a cure, right?
Yeah.
They want their kids, they'll do dolphin therapy, they'll do all of these kinds of things. And it's a lot of work to get them to move to that place. This is who they are. It's, it's not that it won't change or it won't get better, but, you have to kind of get to a place where you accept that this is not gonna go away.
Correct. That's one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But the other aspect is that if you can accept unpleasant emotions that get engendered in you because of your child's behavior, it could be adult child as well, and recognize, how does this fit in with my own personal values about how I should be as a parent and as a person? It helps you and to it changes your perspective. That's really what they're saying. That's the highly paid
Burn.
Mindfulness. I went to a course on mindfulness last year. One of the things they taught me was that there are different ways of focusing your mind, but that breathing is one of the more difficult ways. And that's what we teach all of our adults and kids with disabilities. A much easier way to focus your mind is to focus on a part of your body, like the sole of your foot. It's more tangible. Makes sense to me. Yeah. And when you're standing on your feet, you're more grounded. So these adults were taught to focus on the sole of their feet, and sort of a mindfulness where you focus on the ball of the foot and the sole of the foot, and they were taught to do this, and their caregivers were taught to, because I think they're all in group homes, they were taught to do this on a daily basis, and then when they got angry, they were reminded to focus on this exercise, which they practice on a daily basis. I've found that when I see, the kids I see, and I say, well, I can see they're really stressed, and I say, where do you feel the stress in your body? They have no ability to locate stress in their body. Mm-hmm. It's like that mind-body connection there's an unawareness of it. I think there's a lot we can do to help people to recognize their bodily symptoms of their emotions, and also to use mindfulness techniques like the sole of your foot to get rid of the stress. I don't know, maybe I'm cynical, but I think that's more helpful than breathing. I just don't believe any of these kids really get breathing.
It's so hard to do even as an adult.
Mm-hmm. I know, and then when they do it, they'll do it the wrong way. They do
hyperventilate.
There's nothing from down here, which is where it comes from.
The belly,
So, but the other nice thing I liked about it is that it taught the kids, and actually these were adults, it taught the adults to manage their own aggression. Mm-hmm. Now they couldn't do it on their own, they needed someone to guide them. Mm-hmm. But they learned to take control of their own aggression and stress, because all of the techniques we teach families are how do you manage it for your child. Mm-hmm. So how do you shift the parent-child transaction to a more positive pathway? So parent management training is one way. This is another way. So mindfulness is having this clear, calm mind, focus on the present moment in a non-judgmental way. A mindful parent can respond to their child's maladaptive behavior in other ways than the rigid application of what's the antecedent, what's the consequence, which can get a little kind of rigid. I'm going to tell you, this is only 4 kids. It's a small study. It's quite intensive. So important, the children's behavior, they didn't teach the parents how to manage the child's behavior. But the mindfulness training for the parents spills over to the children. So I'll just tell you what they taught the parents. So the parents taught the mindfulness ideas. They were taught, this is really important, once they understood what mindfulness was, they were taught to be aware of their own arousal states, preceding and following interactions with their child. You can't just teach mindfulness, you have to help them to apply it. So that when the child's doing something which the parents don't like, they're taught to focus in a mindful way about, well, how does that make me feel? I can feel tension right here, and I'm feeling irritated. And then do their mindfulness, right? They're also taught to how to be with their child, having good experiences with their child, and non-judgmental acceptance. So the child's acting out, they were taught to not react, essentially. All right, so that's really what I wanted to tell you about. So I guess what I told you about is a couple of parent management training programs, and I told you about the mindfulness for the parents, and I think the big zinger was the acceptance therapy. It didn't go across well, right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you.